Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.
It's Ramadan, now I got a plan before it's come and gone. Getting close to Allah, spend a lot of time. See the condition of my heart like a sonogram. Everybody knows we got to fast, but does everybody know how the time is passed? Is it sleeping all day and the night's a blast? And forgetting the reward in the month is past. I know you gonna wake up right.
Welcome to the YFactor on 87.6
This
FM.
is a special Ramadan edition, and we have a special guest with us today, don't we, Jamel?
Yes, we do. His name is Sean McNulty, the great man, the British man of brilliance, all the way from the UK, even though he's been in Australia for some time. We're having him in the studio today to talk about stories, because
That's
he's
right.
a storyteller by
And he's a director of Stories in the Park.
Yes, co-director of that initiative. Fantastic and beautiful operation that sounds like something in the
Assalamu
military.
alaikum, everyone. Thank you guys for your kind words. You could try and sound a little more sincere.
Instead of writing off a paper.
Yeah, very good. Hello, guys. Yeah.
Welcome to the program, Sean.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's nice to
Sonny.
be here.
Alhamdulillah. All right, well,
How's your Ramadan going so far?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Struggling?
Look, it's never a struggle when it's something you really enjoy doing. For me, I don't want to be classified as a Ramadan Muslim. But I really do feel like a better person. I'm not missing prayers, and alhamdulillah, I love it.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, that's
Alhamdulillah.
good. And obviously, each night at Tarawih as well, we get to enjoy, depending on if you stick to the one masjid or go to several different masjids.
Look, with 4,000 children, as I have, it's often hard to get to all of the Tarawih. But I must say, I love. I've got a special affinity for Sheikh Taj, and look at Ember Moss. So big shout going out to my homie. No, but seriously, I love the atmosphere and that feeling of brotherhood.
And how about the infamous iftar? Do you pounce on the food once you break your fast?
No, well, look, I can't get near the table. The children are there. No, look, I mean, for me, my routine is, I have to get my date and water, and then I'll go and pray Maghreb straight away, because because when I do hit the food, sujood becomes mission impossible. So,
I think we all struggle with that.
that's my preferred way. I believe it's a sunnah, but
Sure is.
All right, so straight, just about you personally, Sean. You embraced Islam a few years ago, right? You're actually Irish by origin, but grew up in the UK. Is that correct?
my blood is as green as any other Irishman. Yes,
Great.
But
Your
brought
accent
up in the UK. We are. My family decided that living in Northern Ireland in the early 70s probably wasn't the most wholesome of places to bring up young Shawnee. So,
especially because you guys were Catholics, right?
Yeah. So that was. But it's quite funny actually, because we got to move to mainland UK, and being part of an Irish Roman Catholic community. We were kind of viewed by the mainstream British as being either terrorists or being sympathetic to terrorism. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I'm sure we can relate.
So, it's... So,
Hold on. The Catholics were considered terrorists at one point?
well, because back in Northern Ireland, you had the IRA who were blowing things up, and
Yes.
and so on and so forth. I
you
won't
had
go into the politics, but it was not a pleasant place to be.
So, were you witness to some of the things that happened over there?
Well, look, no, not personally. I mean, obviously we read about it in the media and then got blamed for it by everyone else. But again, I get some of the parallels that we as a community are facing.
You mean the Muslims?
Yeah, absolutely. Although there was this weird period of time, I have to say. So obviously I drifted out of Catholicism as a teenager. Now, from being a teenager up until the day I said Shahada, I was in this really weird space where I could go through airport security and not have random security. I mean, that was just...
I love the emphasis on random security
It was
checks.
really weird. If you go through the beeping machine and it beeped, as a non-Muslim, everyone laughs. Ho ho ho! You got a bomb in there. You got a hip replacement in there. So everyone's laughing. If you go through with your hijabi wife, it's a different story. Children start pointing. Old women start muttering, and the security guards run off screaming. So,
I'm sure we're all familiar with that occurrence with random security checks.
No, look, when I'm travelling on my own, obviously being Anglo-Celtic, travelling on my own with a beard. I just looked like a nerd. So obviously something in IT.
Yeah.
A comical geek.
Yes, but when you're travelling with a hijabi, oh no, it's game on.
Well, hair-wise, I mean, Irishmen themselves are naturally hairy as well. No,
we are hirsute creatures.
Yes, I know my dad's a bit of a gorilla himself.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure you'll that.
But nowhere near Arabs.
Because you guys aren't hairy.
We are the definition of hair.
Yeah, get the hair on the
dictionary.
True that. Yeah, I've seen Arabs with hair on the forehead. And stuff.
The monobrows.
Well, one of my friends actually, his dad's beard starts from below his eye. His eye. So that to have from there to there lasered.
Mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah.
All right,
Okay,
seeing this is Ramadan, we'll go straight on to some,
Maybe Sean's first Ramadan.
Yeah, maybe perhaps you can tell us a story of your first Ramadan, inshallah.
I mean, I actually said Shahada 3 or 4 days before Ramadan actually started, so I was in at the deep end. I remember my first day. I did do suhoor. I got someone to phone me up and wake me up. So I did my little midnight snack, and that was great. You got to remember it was Perth, and it was in December. And the days were really, really long. I mean, Maghreb wasn't until like 7:30 at night, and so it was pretty hard. And it was about 40 degrees on my first day. It was like full on. And at 6 o'clock, I had to deliver a presentation at uni, and so I went along and I did it, and I almost passed out, and I'm all the time looking at my watch going, it's got to be sometime soon, it's got to be sometime soon. And I actually had to, there's a good half an hour walk back from where I was doing the presentation back to my accommodation, so and I hadn't prepared, I hadn't brought anything along. And so when the bell rang, we left the class, I walked out. And there was the guy I lived with, Amar, who was kind of instrumental in me finding Islam. He'd worked out where I was. He'd asked administration where this lecture was going to be, and he kind of camped out outside. He was slumped in the corridor. He'd had a hard one himself, and he got a bag of like nuts and fruit and a couple of bags of chips, and we broke our fast there in the corridor, with a bottle of Evian and
I'm sure we've done that during our university days as well, Mohammed.
Yeah, plenty of times. Not really. Did he put out a hasira, that traditional mat, as well?
No, we just slumped in a pile of sweat.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
It's beautiful.
That's your first ever iftar.
First ever iftar. And I'm telling you that I've never had fruit and nuts that tasted so sweet. It's absolutely beautiful.
Even if they were out of date,
Yeah.
Oh look, absolutely.
Well, they say that the best sauce is hunger as well. So like food tastes a lot nicer, and no matter what it is, the hungrier you are.
I tell you what, no, I think I'll disagree. I think it was the love that this brother had shown me, and that brotherhood has kind of stuck with me.
SubhanAllah.
That he'd gone out of his way on his day of fasting. He'd gone down to the shop to bring a few things up. SubhanAllah, that is beautiful. And that brotherhood was what made the food taste good.
Sharing a special meal.
Alhamdulillah, it was beautiful.
Absolutely, on a special occasion as well.
Did you have any wacky stories of something that happened during one of your Ramadans?
I've probably got a few that I'm not allowed to tell. Again, in my first week or so of Ramadan, I had to go across town, and like I've already said, the days were long and hot, and I had to get to this office. And I remember walking in, the secretary saw me, this big sweating guy, red-faced, and she said, "Take a seat." And a couple of minutes later, she brought over a glass of water, and I downed it without even thinking about it. And then I'm thinking to myself, there's something not quite right. Something not right with this bit. You're not allowed to drink a whole glass of water in one. I'm sure I've read something about that. You're meant to take it in free. Oh, it's Ramadan. I've broken my fast. I've broken my Ramadan. I've broken my fast. What have I done? What have I done? And I was like really, really upset. Yeah. Onto my mobile phone, I'm phoning a knowledgeable friend. I've broken my Ramadan. What am I gonna do? And he's like, "Oh no, it's okay, because if you did it unintentionally, it's a gift from God." I'm like, "You're kidding me?" No, seriously, it's a gift. It's God knew that you needed it, and you sincerely took that gift, and so there was nothing. oh my, alhamdulillah, this religion, this is amazing. Islam has something for everyone. This is beautiful. Oh my God, this is amazing. and I actually powered through that first Ramadan. I did not miss a single fast. I did it. I was so proud of myself.
Mashallah.
So alhamdulillah, it was good.
Alhamdulillah.
Well, you can't really blame. I mean, especially being a new convert to Islam. Like, I mean, most Muslims who are born Muslim, they struggle with that every year when Ramadan approaches.
Well, so people said, you you can cut this out if you like, but I mean, there was this time I walked across Curtin University. I was walking across the campus. It was towards the end of Ramadan. I had done really well, and I was so proud of myself. I was this uber Muslim, a tower of dawah. I was doing it. I was I was so proud of myself. I remember walking through the refectory of the university, and I saw this sister in hijab. She's sipping at a cup of coffee. And I'm like, oh no, I've got to tell her. I've got to say something. The lowest form of Iman is condemning. I'm at a high form of Iman. I've got to change this by my hand. So I went over to the sister. Assalamu alaikum. Thinking the sight of this big fasting Muslim would kind of jolt her back into reality
And stop her drinking her coffee during Ramadan.
Yeah. Wa alaikum salam. Oh, okay, too subtle. Ramadan Mubarak, sister. No, that was still
hint.
He wasn't getting it. So.
Were you looking at the coffee cup and then back at her and then coffee? Ramadan Mubarak.
Yeah, I was like, get the cup. I said, no, sister. I'm still new to this and everything, but I noticed that you're drinking coffee and it's Ramadan. She looks at me. But it's all right. But it's a gift from God. Right? It's a gift, but you've got to put it down and put it down. She's like, no, brother, listen. It's how do I put this? It's a special time of the month.
You weren't getting it.
What special part of Ramadan have they not told me about where you can drink coffee? She goes, no. I mean, it's that time I don't pray. Astaghfirullah. No, this is the holy month. You meant, no. Listen, I mean, it's that special time of the month for ladies. We don't pray.
You can just imagine the look.
I've got to go. Assalamu alaikum, and I raced off.
Good turtle.
When you're new to the religion, there are things like this which you don't know. You make mistakes along the way. I never knew that being married to a Muslim woman would involve what it does as well. And I'm talking about hijab pins.
Getting stabbed in the face when
falling asleep, waking up in the morning, and you've got like there's a little red knob on me. What's that? There's a whole needle in my leg.
How did that even get there? Right?
Seriously,
That's a time to remind of our sisters out there to always put away your hijab pins in a safe place when you sleep.
Anyway, sorry.
All right. Okay. Well, we digress. Let's go back onto track for Ramadan and your specialty being storytelling. So I guess we wanted to sort of make this sort of little interview something special, maybe tell a few stories of your travels, because before you even became a Muslim, you were talking to me about how you actually had travels in Palestine and Palestine, and you traveled through the Crescent from Turkey all the way down to Egypt. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to be fascinated by history, so I planned this trip whereby I would follow an old Crusader trail. So I started off in Eastern Europe, travelled down Bulgaria into Turkey, Istanbul. Istanbul was beautiful. I did love Istanbul, but I didn't feel anything particularly spiritual about the place. Mashallah, absolutely beautiful. But travelling into Syria, it was actually in Damascus. I had what the Christians would call a road to Damascus moment. Basically, Suq al-Hamadiyah, which is an ancient souk that runs through the middle of old Damascus. At the end of it, you've got the Umayyad Mosque. And I remember going along and just sitting down outside the mosque. And the whole day literally passed without me knowing. I just sat there. People came and they went, Azans came and went, as they had been doing for 1,400 years. and you can see the floor worn smooth by the passage of people, and it was just really, really moving. And like I say, the whole day disappeared before I'd even known, and I felt this weird tweaky feeling in my heart that I couldn't explain, and I had no one who I could ask about it anyway, so I just kind of forced it back down again. And again, it resurfaced, I mentioned before, in Cairo, and I'm sat on the roof of the hotel with my kushari and my sugarcane juice and my argila, all puffing away, and the sun starts setting, and all
just normal tobacco, just
of course, normal tobacco.
Yeah.
Family show, right? Yeah. So I'm just sat up there, and and we're about just a few hundred meters away from the Islamic Quarter. And these adhans start going off. One little crackly one starts off, then another, then another, then another. It's a whole chorus of like little Stephen Hawking voices. It means nothing to me, but I know it's a beautiful noise. And I can't describe the feeling. Again, this really weird feeling inside of me that I couldn't explain, that I just had to push down. And of course, it was a good couple of years again before I actually said Shahada, and I had the chance to be exposed to people who could, start filling in those blanks and tell me what it was I was feeling. Alhamdulillah. So yeah, but travelling, I've done a lot of travelling. You mentioned Palestine. Obviously, when I did it, I referred to the place as Israel, and I did a kibbutz, and I had a great time.
Well, just for listeners who don't know, what is a kibbutz?
A kibbutz is like a commune. So it's like, they tend to be farms, and they, out in the middle of nowhere. So they're completely separate to the rest of Israeli society. And most Israelis from the cities look down upon the kibbutzniks. They're hippies. They're just,
sounds just like your cup of tea there, right?
I went along to this one near a place called Bet Shemesh, which is not so far from Jerusalem. And it was a lot of things stuck with me from that. I saw the way the Palestinians there were treated, and contrary to what a lot of us would believe, on the kibbutz itself, the Palestinians came and they went and they helped out, and the kids all played soccer with the Israeli kids.
Wow.
It was a really, really nice atmosphere. I mean, it's in the days of Yitzhak Rabin, and things were kind of calm anyway.
Not as bad as they are currently.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I've got 1,001 stories from there, but it's not all of them I can share, unfortunately.
Especially not on air.
No, absolutely. But it was, a really good experience, and probably the first time I'd come into contact with Muslims outside of my own country, and it was really interesting. Yeah.
As we're sharing a few stories here and there, why do you think? Like, you started up with another brother, Stories in the Park. Why did you actually start up the initiative? Did you feel there was a need to tell stories? Well, there is. There's certainly a need to tell stories, but conversely, there's a need for us to be entertained. That's true. I mean, what have we got in the way of halal entertainments? Of a Friday night, where does Abdul take Aisha? Well, we've got restaurants, and that's where the trail goes cold. There's not really too much more to do. I mean, lectures are fine and have their place, but wouldn't necessarily fall under the category of entertainment per se. And so, rather than come up with some weird and wonderful new idea or whatever, we look back in history to what our forebears would do for entertainment, and common to both Ben's Arab ancestry and my own Irish. What did our ancestors do? Well, we got up in front of the campfire in front of the rest of the tribe and told stories. With lessons in each one of them, I guess. Oh, sometimes, yeah. I mean, other titillation. But no, and stories would grow as well, So, yeah, I mean, obviously the stories that we kind of concentrated on at Stories in the Park would be, stories of the Sahaba, stories of, modern-day Muslims, stories directly from the Quran. In fact, Sister Silma would tell the story of Yusuf. Sadiq Buckley told, I think it was a story of Ibrahim. But it wasn't just restricted to that. So we'd also tell stories from
from our cultural legacies as well. We've had Pakistani folk tales. We've had stories from the Arabian Nights.
And personal experiences as well, I've
Personal experiences, absolutely. Brother Abdullah Zaid, he told us stories from his own travels around the world.
There's actually an interesting statistic about, or an interesting fact about storytelling. I'll probably share it with you guys. It says human beings developed the ability to speak about 50,000 years ago. Scholars who examine through skull analysis often believed that the oldest profession in the world was prostitution. However, the oldest profession in the world is indeed storytelling. As humans developed speech 50,000 years ago, they also began telling stories. So you are indeed inheriting a 50,000-year-old tradition, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Storytelling is definitely has a place, and it's something that, even though, as you mentioned, it is a really old thing, it doesn't get old. You know, to this day, you know, if you look at Hollywood, you know, okay, you get some stories there, and, you know, I mean, there's not an awful lot of films that we can watch, per se. I mean, there's one or two that come along that don't portray us as terrorists. But by and large, you know, we still have this medium of storytelling, but the quality of the pictures that you have in your own mind when someone's telling you a story are far superior to anything that Hollywood can put on.
That's
you know,
right.
and you know, and people come down to the park at Maghreb. We pray, and then they put their picnic blankets out. You got to remember, in the summertime, obviously not this nasty winter that, you know, we're having, but in the summertime. And you've got those hot summer nights, blankets down, the smell of the grass, the smell of the citronella candles that we have out. You know, you're running your fingers through the grass. You know, close your eyes and listen to those stories. Even if you open your eyes and you're looking up at the stars, that too, you know, it's just a feast for the senses.
It's a beautiful
Absolutely.
thing, yeah.
Sounds like it.
So, you know, inshallah, we'll have another season. We've been doing it for 5 years now.
Mashallah.
You know, we've
Very successful 5 years as well.
alhamdulillah, you know, we've had a couple of bad years in terms of being rained out. You know, there's always a risk of that with outdoor events. But by and large, you know, yeah, alhamdulillah, we've had a good run.
And even if we look at it, I mean, our Islamic history, I mean, every prophet came for certain people who took pride in a certain area. For Jesus alayhi salam, people took pride in medicine. You know, so many of his miracles were medicine. For Musa alayhi salam, it was, you know, magic and illusion. So, you know, when he threw the snake, that became, you know, the stick that became a snake. So when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, it was obviously poetry. But just in general, that theme of capturing people's attention and telling a poem or a story, it's embedded in our history as Muslims.
Absolutely, yeah.
So now we commend you, mashallah, for taking up such a great initiative.
Thank you.
And where can people go to learn further about, you know, Stories in the Park?
Well, look, we've got the website, storiesinthepark.com. Rather imaginative. Stories in the Park, all one word. And we've also, you know, and for brothers and sisters in Melbourne, we've also got Stories in the Park down there, and they use the same website. We have a Facebook friend called Stories in the Park, so look him up.
Is that one of those organisations that become a profile?
Oh, I hate them, apart from my one.
You could just create a Facebook page, you know, group page.
Well, we could.
So could we actually poke Stories in the Park?
You can poke Stories in the Park.
Poke away, ladies and gentlemen.
But I mean, we found that a more useful way of using the media at that point. Simply, I mean, look, we don't have any sort of budget whatsoever. You know, we rely on donations to keep us afloat from week to week. So, you know, and accordingly, you know, word is spread by word of mouth. You know, we have no marketing budget, so therefore we rely on people recommending. So Facebook, you know, was quite a big win for us. It gave us a chance to get a bit of a presence out there. So yeah, initially we had a friend who could just add random people, and that's horrible. I hate people doing that, but add Stories in the Park. We're different.
And yeah,
great promotion.
They won't stalk your profile whatsoever.
Oh god, no.
The YFactor.
If I was to tell you a story, one of my stories of many, when I was on Hajj a few years back, and we were in Medina, we were spending some time there. I think I told you this story, Sean. So I was in Medina there, and it was late at night after Isha, and I was there with a couple other brothers, and we were getting some coffee. And I didn't want any coffee. I was just eating my bag of dates, my black dates from Medina. So I'm eating these dates, and then on the ground, squatting on the floor, I see these two very Taliban-looking like brothers eating these yellow coffee cakes. So they're sitting down, and I look at them, they look at me, and I say salam alaikum, they say wa alaikum salam, and I go over and offer my dates to them. So the first one says no, thank you, and then the second one says, he takes some, and then he offers me some cake. Now, what I was thinking back in those days was that, I didn't really I'm not sure if I'm vaccinated for, I don't know how sort of diseases can be carried or anything like...
Jamel?
Yeah, no.
I don't know where this is going.
For people from other countries, like it's not because of who they were, it was because people from outside of Australia...
You might catch the Taliban.
Who knows, right? But, I wasn't sure how, like, infections or sicknesses can be... carried, right? And maybe I wasn't vaccinated for something that they might have from Afghanistan that I'm not immunized against, right? So, I'm there, I offer them the dates, and then they break off a piece of the cake for me, so I take the cake and I eat where they haven't eaten as well, because I don't know how the infections are transferred or whatever. And then so we're about to leave a few minutes later, and so I go and offer some more dates to them, and the first guy sort of takes some, and then the second guy looks at me like, what are you doing? And so he takes some, and then he gets up, stands up to me, and he puts his arms out. And it looks like, I think he's about to give me a hug. So I sort of go to give him a hug. And what he does is, instead of giving me a hug, he grabs his hand, grabs my head, grabs his other hand where he's been eating the cake from. So, he's been sort of shoving his face full with his cake. Grabs the back of my head and shoves my head onto the cake so that, full contact wherever he was eating, throw all of those thoughts out the window of sharing saliva, because it's I have to finish the cake. He's not letting me go until I eat the whole thing straight out of his hands. So I had to finish all the cake, and I'm laughing while I'm doing it. And after that, said thank you and salam. But that was quite an experience.
The Taliban.
Being force-fed by the Taliban, yeah. Yeah, but I didn't get sick, alhamdulillah, so I guess that was... yeah.
No,
it was all good. Well, I didn't know. I had no idea. When you're traveling, you're not vaccinated for everything. You're not sure how you catch these
You were
things.
innocent then, Jamel.
Yeah. That's my story of sharing cake with the Taliban. They probably weren't even Taliban. They were just Afghani brothers wearing traditional gear. But anyway.
They were probably from Melbourne.
Yeah, I actually saw one brother in Medina on Hajj. He looked like Willy Wonka. He just facial features wise, and he had unnaturally dyed red hair and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting.
One of my interesting experiences was in Lebanon. Now, my father took my whole family to Lebanon back in 2003 for an entire year. His initial intention was to live there forever, but we only lasted a year. And I was about 12 then. So my first Ramadan in Lebanon was a very eye-opening experience, especially my first day in Ramadan. So that first, the night before, you're preparing for Ramadan the next day, you wanted to wake up for suhoor. So as we would in Australia, I told my dad, this is in our village in Lebanon, can we set our alarm for 4:30 or 5 a.m, whatever time Fajr was, to wake up and eat before we pray? He said no. He said there's no need to, the alarm will come. I'm like, what do you mean, Baba? I'm not going to wake up unless there's an alarm. That's what we did in Australia for the past 12 years of my life. So where's the alarm? He said, just relax, the alarm will come. So I'm like, okay. So I went to bed thinking, I don't know what's going on. At about 4:30 a.m, I just remember a loud thumping noise.
Yeah.
Sound like large footsteps.
Yeah.
Back then I used to watch a lot of movies, so I thought it was like a large dinosaur slowly making its way towards our house in our village. And I heard thump and thump and thump, and I heard this voice, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I was actually got a bit scared. I shivered in my bed, and I'm looking around, and there's no electricity in Lebanon. They shut it out, so I couldn't turn on any lights. So I made my way out to the veranda, and I've got my blanket around me, and I'm just, I'm on level 2, and I'm just looking outside the village to see where this noise is coming from. And then the guy with a drum is just whacking his, this massive drum and saying, wake up for suhoor, wake up for suhoor. And then all the villagers start coming out and they have a look and they give him salams, and I'm like, oh, that's the alarm clock. And then my dad's like, what's wrong? Because I was still shaky. Yeah. I'm like, nothing, I'm just excited to see such a natural alarm clock. SubhanAllah, yeah. So we had suhoor, but a very interesting experience. Just even the culture I mean, here I relied on obviously a physical alarm clock, but there it was just, this man obviously had to wake up an hour before to make his way throughout the whole village to give people about half an hour's time to...
My mum used to tell me about how for iftar or futur in Lebanon, they actually blow the cannons. So you've got cannons going off as a signal for Adhan al-Maghrib, you know, like time to break your fast.
There's always that awkward moment, isn't there? If there's not an Adhan going off, everyone's looking at their watches or their mobile phones with a date in one hand and come on. He's eating over there. But no, this is not yet. But he's eating over there. Not yet. Now!
That's so true.
I think that happens. I think that happens here as well. When you're invited to a relative's house, it is just one person who's ever waiting for that text message or that phone call who's got their ear on the radio. She's like, oh, it's Adhan, and he comes out shouting, and we're like, yes! Yalla, we're like, we forget about the dua and just bang, thumb it in our mouth. And
SubhanAllah. You know, it sort of makes me... that sort of thought reminds me of the situation overseas when you think about those who don't actually have any food, especially with the Horn of Africa crisis, and how we actually it's a very common occurrence during Ramadan how a lot of people tend to just gorge on food once they break their fast, while they don't necessarily think about the people who die every day of starvation. On record, like the number's gone up now, I'm sure of it, because of the Horn of Africa crisis, but before the crisis you had 24,000 people who died every day due to starvation or malnutrition. And I guess something that we should really remember this Ramadan is, with every sort of bite of food that we take, how precious it really is.
Absolutely. I think we get carried away as well. You bring up a very good point, Jamal. And some shuyukh have actually mentioned it pre-Ramadan. I mean, we're in Ramadan now, but pre-Ramadan they've just been reminding us of not being consumed by our culture. Because I know with many sort of Arab or even subcontinental, it's just digging in. It's a massive feast. And I think that the 1/3 rule of eating doesn't apply in Ramadan, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I remember after one iftar being given by Human Appeal International, I mean, an absolute feast had been put on, and we all gorged ourselves. And then Dr. Zachariah Matthews came on and gave exactly, that, and he gave us the stories, and we all felt so bad because it's absolutely right. And I remember in my first year, you just reminded me of something that's quite funny. My first year of being Muslim, I remember the thirds rule. I always thought it was 1/3 of your stomach for food, 1/3 for drink, and 1/3 for dessert. I had that wrong, didn't I?
It's a bit ambitious, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But no, absolutely, Jamal, absolutely spot on.
I actually heard of there was one initiative that Muslim Aid Australia was doing, which was they were encouraging people just to have an iftar, but just give people very basic food so that they can remember the poor. So say we're talking about soup, dates, bread, water, and that's it. Just so that people can really sort of spend the time reflecting, contemplating, and trying to understand the real situation overseas. So.
I mean, in all fairness, in terms of our mothers and our wives and our sisters or daughters, whoever's cooking, generally speaking, when you're hungry, you tend to cook double. So, and it's pretty hard telling a really traditional, your traditional mother who's been, used to this. Generally speaking, outside of Ramadan, they're very generous. But inside Ramadan, if you think they're generous, like it's an understatement. They just want to feed you until you explode.
And when they put it on your plate and you're like, I'll leave this bit. No, haram.
Haram, yeah.
You eat everything.
It's actually an insult. Like, culturally, they take insult. Like, what's up? My food's not good enough for you. Like, what's the issue? So,
I guess
it's a challenge for everyone, I guess. The mothers, the people eating, everyone.
We'd all know that with my mum's side of the family, with both your parents' side of the family, with your wife, I guess your wife's side of the family.
Yeah.
All have that
typical Lebanese
sisters,
gathering.
Sisters, if you're listening, it's your fault.
No, we didn't mean that. Sean, you can't say it bluntly.
You have to use euphemisms and dance.
You have to use hikmah.
Exactly.
All right, Jazakallah khairan. This was a really good chat, wasn't it?
Alhamdulillah. Well, perhaps we could go away with... Do you have maybe one more story for us to go away with for Ramadan, Sean? Being the storyteller that you are.
Storyteller extraordinaire.
The British man of brilliance.
No pressure whatsoever.
Giving you my Ramadan anecdotes.
Isn't that the worst when somebody says, please tell me a story, and then you've got so many you can't think of any?
Yeah, in my very first Ramadan, my very first communal iftar, obviously the one in the corridor doesn't really count. There's a place in Cannington, or Canning Vale, I can't remember now, but it was basically a Muslim school, and again, this is in Western Australia, and I had all of these, I was seeing people of different colours and nationalities coming in. I said, so who are these guys? He said, the community here is very, very mixed. Unlike Sydney, you've got your Turks here, you've got your Lebs here, you've got your Pakis over there, and Indonesians somewhere we don't really know. We haven't spoken to them for years. But we got these different sides. In Perth, they didn't have that. And my very first Ramadan, very first communal iftar was in this school. And we counted the different nationalities of all the boys in this room. There were 19 different nationalities. And everyone had to bring along their own plate of food.
Wow.
And I loved it. You know, you had Nigerians sat next to Indonesians, sat next to Moroccans, Irishmen, there were Afghans, there was a Tartar.
Oh, wow.
I thought
not tartar sauce like
in your mouth. Yeah, no.
Or the type of sauce, yeah.
From Tatarstan, apparently.
Wow.
So, and for me, you know, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. All of these different and they were all my brother. These people all loved me, and I felt love towards them as well. I mean, like I say, it's slightly different here in Sydney. We don't mix it up enough, anywhere near enough.
That's true.
And yet we are all brothers, and often, you know, converts, reverts, whatever you want to call us, we find it hard to, you know, we find we have to become allied to one particular silo, whereas that's not what Islam's about. We're Australian Muslims, right? All of us. And the more we do need to work on that, we really do. But in Perth, they had that. And I went away from that first communal iftar again thinking, subhanAllah, what an amazing thing I've done by becoming a Muslim. You know, that feeling of brotherhood, that feeling of these people who would die for you, you would die for them, you know, and that immediate love. I don't know you, but I love you.
SubhanAllah.
Regardless of your nationality.
Regardless of nationality.
I guess Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that He's put the love between the Muslims.
Yeah. And there are none superior to another except by their own piousness, by their own taqwa.
A very timely reminder in a very special month of Ramadan. So very good reminder to all our listeners out there to invite your friends of, you know, different backgrounds and nationalities.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit.
Of course, mix up the food and mix up the people there.
You know, I'm Irish, my wife's Arab. We've got little Irabs. Jamal, you're an Irab.
Yes.
Throwing an iPad on top of an Irab.
Actually, it does make life a lot more exciting, I guess. You know, you get a lot more flavour in
Does,
life.
you know what? And it makes for a stronger ummah as well, you know? Yeah. Where are those Indonesians?
Up in DY.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You'll have to do me a map. But do you know what I'm saying? You know, the more we mix it up, the stronger we are.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for your time today on the YFactor, Sean. It's on our very special edition in Ramadan, and we appreciate those stories and life experiences. Inshallah, our listeners can hopefully take away much benefit from your talk today. Inshallah.
Yes, I mean, one of the most, going on that point, I guess just to end it, is one of the most beautiful things that I guess we have in Islam and as Muslims is that sort of that brotherhood. And inshallah, you know, as Muhammad said, perhaps we can really build on that this Ramadan by having more iftars where we invite more people and invite that extra person who's not of the same nationality, and really sort of, you know, work on showing that it's like practicing that Islam is not a one nation religion, but it's a multinational religion.
You know what? That brings up a good point. Me and Jamel are exclusively giving everyone a call out. To all our brothers and sisters, if any brothers out there, if you see any brother of any background on the street in Ramadan,
just call him over.
Give him a hug, give him your phone number, and invite him to your house for that.
Give him a kiss
that
too.
night. Vice versa of the sisters.
And stuff some cake into his.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, we're listening to the YFactor on 87.6 FM. We'll be back next week with a special Ramadan edition as well. So stay tuned and thank you for listening.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum.